Here it is. What plan of action would you have to verify the addresses of charter school students to see if they reside in Hempstead?
It's related to good workers, because if you have in place people doing their job, the board should not be worried about it. Everything comes from the top and goes to the bottom. If you as a superintendent select the best candidate for the board to approve to do to get some specific position, you should rely on that person is qualified to do that job. But when you have an employee and you don't have a supervisor that is taking care of that employee, chances are that employee maybe is not doing the job. It could be a child that is not longer on a school age and still on the records for a charter school. That it's not the charter school fault. It's about that employee who was supposed to be doing the job and a supervisor who never came to see what she was supposed to be done and if she in fact was done.
Thank you.
Well, in reality, we're going to have to lean forward. We can't wait. This is a matter for the superintendent to handle and her employees to handle. But I think where the board fails is that we are actual leaders of the school system. Because the superintendent is hired by us, but we are the residents' representatives. They expect us to go to the superintendent or hire a superintendent who's making sure that people reside where they say they reside. We can't afford to hand this off and think that we're going to have change. We're going to have to put people who are experienced and ready to engage the tough issues that lead to this situation, this current situation, in order to turn it around. This one is a superintendent issue. Yes, but who put the superintendent there? Who has asked Ms. Johnson why we are where we are now? That is our responsibility as a board. And until we embrace it, tackle it, and not request it, but demand that it start to change, the charter schools, people are trying to force their way into the charter schools because of our current situation in the non-charter schools. There's a lot to be learned. If it's working in the charter schools, it's not our enemy. It's something we must embrace and make our own. And then they won't be trying to force their way into the charter schools. They'll be trying to get back into our public schools. The board has a responsibility here. It's not to point out, we can all sit here and point out all the problems. We have the responsibility to come up with the right solutions and turn this around. Progress is a must. Academic progress will solve a lot of these issues. We can't just want to be elected and sit here next year and be in the bottom 5% of the state.
Mr. Spencer.
The question is, how do we verify the address of people coming into the first, we have personnel that do their job. They do their due diligence. But unfortunately, we have a lot of corrupt people living amongst us that come up with these fake addresses. It's not just in the schools. It's all throughout the village. But one solution to this is, when we get the personnel file on a student, we could also take that to our building department and have our building department look up this address and see who lives there. Is it a single family home? Is it a multiple family home?
That's right, that's right.
We have to take extra steps. We can't just go on face value or people's word anymore.
That's right.
We have to go a couple of steps further. And once again, we have the resources, we just have to use them. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Jackson?
Also, it's nice to make some night visits too, because when you're there during the day, you don't really see because everybody's gone or whatever. But when you come at night, then you can see who's there. Also, getting back to the whole issue of accountability, you pay people to do this job, and they should be doing it. And if we don't hold them accountable, then nothing's going to be changed, because I think that's the problem. We all know what to do, but we're not doing it. You know, we can all, talk the talk, but can we walk the talk? And that is what I'm finding in Hempstead. That's not happening. So we need to start demanding and holding people accountable for the jobs that we pay them to do.
Thank you. Ms. Brazee.
Well, we need a comprehensive registration and attendance program. And people in places to do certain jobs. It's very difficult though in the community of Hempstead because, you know, you have an attorney general and all these other forces that say all the children have to come to school. And so if they give you an address, you are not even in a position at this point, according to the attorney general, to decline any child. We have to let them come to class and then do the investigation while they're coming to class. So when it comes to a community like ours, there's a lot of other rules and regulations imposed on us by government forces that are not typical of other communities. So it's no easy way to answer your question, because we're under all kinds of investigations, we're under all kinds of scrutiny, and the order is you must take all of these children in, you must put them in class immediately, and then you go and check. That doesn't happen anywhere else, and it makes it a little more difficult those are the orders. Those aren't the rules, those are the orders that we've been given by the Attorney General.
Thank you, Ms. Rich. I think that we have attorneys for a reason, and I think that we need to use our attorneys to turn that back on the state. When we use the Homeless Act, when the Homeless Act is used against us, we need to verify that those children are in these homeless shelters. We need to verify. I know that when the mayor asked us to investigate those 3,000 children or 3,000 families, we were supposed to hire community aides, and they were supposed to work at night during the day. There were 3,000 families. I don't know if there were 3,000. I don't know if it was families or homes or whatever. There were families still being investigated. So they were asking us to work with the community to find out what was going on. We have to investigate. I know in Uniondale, they do it. Other communities do it. So we need to do it here. If there are too many people living in one house, it needs to be investigated. And so we need to hire more community aides, and we need to hire, guess what? Private investigators to follow people at night. Levittown or in Queens are bringing people to our schools. So we do need to hire private investigators. And if our school district needs to hire people to do that and make sure that they don't live here, get rid of them. If we have to go that far to do it, let our law firm do what they do best. Go against the state, against these laws that are holding us accountable. Let's hold the state accountable. Thank you. I'm going to ask you to hold not only your applause, but your comments. They're disturbing, and they do disturb the speakers as well as the listeners. Thank you. Dr. Gates.
I believe that as we're moving forward, we've got to be very careful that we do not position ourselves for additional lawsuits. And at the end of the day, we've got to be very careful that we do not become monitors relative to or private eyes or investigators. The law states that if a child comes, we have to educate that child. And there is a proof of address that we must accept, and accept that proof alone. We can't go beyond that. We can't create other means for information. We must follow the law. It is critical that we look at where we are now. We look at our registration system. It is critical that we move it into the 21st century, that we become automated and automate the entire system. It is critical that this is where the village comes into play. This is where our mayor comes into play. This is where all of the stakeholders in the community come into play. and we become, there's an initiative that says our brothers keepers, we're watchers one of another. This is critical because the district cannot open itself up and violate anyone's rights by going out, becoming surveillance on the community at large.
Thank you. All right, the next question will come, the answer will come first.